Recognize the gentleman from New York, Mr. D'Esposito, for his 5 minutes question.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And it's clear that the disapproval of the policies of Joe Biden and Secretary Mayorkas are not just specific to Republicans or conservatives. The numbers that were shared by my good friend from New York, Mr. Lalotta, 75% of people have said that the border is the biggest issue facing this country. You talk about numbers. Fiscal year 21, since fiscal year 21, 8,542,000 people have come across our borders. Over 3 million in fiscal year 23. In November, 308,000 and change, 242,000 at our southern border. 312 terrorists who have come across on our terror watch list in fiscal year 21. 1.8 million gotaways that we know about, and many more that we don't. It's cost cities and states throughout this country $451 billion with a B. There's been over 70,000 Americans killed by fentanyl that have come across from cartels. We've been asked the question, is this about policy or is this about the things that Mayorkas has committed? Well, if you ask me, all those numbers is a complete betrayal to this country. We talk, and has been mentioned by colleagues, that again, this is political theater. This is Republicans, conservatives, using the border as a narrative as we go towards an election. But this isn't a narrative. It's not one created by the Republicans, and I'll take us back to my home state of New York, where you have Democrats. Our governor has said flat out, there's no room left in New York. There's no room at the inn. Don't send migrants here anymore. We've heard a Democrat city mayor, Mayor Adams, who I disagree with virtually everything about, but this I actually agree with. He has said that the migrant issue in New York City will destroy New York. So this doesn't seem like it's political theater. It doesn't seem like it's a narrative that's been created by Republicans and conservatives, because you now have Democrats in these blue states and sanctuary states and cities who agree with us. Just last night, we had children told in New York City that they can no longer attend school in person. They have to do it virtually because their school is now being used to house migrants. Now just think about that for a second. We want to talk about the failed policies. This isn't just a policy. This is intent. Mayorkas has intentionally betrayed this country. People are claiming that they want to come here for a better way of life, for democracy, for a chance at that American dream, for a better education. And yet children who came here correctly, children who were born here, last night were told that they cannot go to school because there's no room for them because it's being used by migrants. That's the height of hypocrisy. And if you ask me, it is a betrayal of this country. Mr. Gettner-Drummond, in your testimony, you talked about how smaller law enforcement agencies feel that they are ill-equipped to handle the threats stemming from the border crisis. Can you talk about how the border crisis impacts the resources of smaller police agencies and what the officers in those departments are feeling?
Well, certainly it strains the resources, and it is wildly intimidating to our local law enforcement, where they have maybe a police force of 3 or 4 in a community of 2,000, and yet they have 4 or 5 illegal grows that are populated by illegal immigrants, Mexican cartel members, Chinese syndicated crime organization members, with semi-assault, semi-automatic rifles abundant, and they are unwilling to go in.
And I know the answer to this, but I want to ask it so it's on the record, because I think it's another clear indicator of Mayorkas' failure of his oath and the fact that he's betrayed this country. Do you know, or have you experienced law enforcement agencies, to your knowledge, that have said that they have lacked notification and information and intelligence sharing from federal partners when it comes to migrants?
I would say the cooperation with our federal agencies is high in Oklahoma. We have an excellent working relationship. So I commend the federal agencies working with Oklahoma. I think it goes at a higher level, and that's the implementation of the laws of the United States.
Right. Mr. Knudsen, you want to comment on that?
I completely agree with my colleague here. The level of cooperation with federal DEA, with our U.S. Attorney's Office in Montana has been very, very high and very excellent. Customs and Border Patrol, I might add, we're a northern tier state. We work with them a lot. But certainly the message has come down from Secretary Mayorkas and from on high that we're going to just flagrantly ignore portions of federal law.
And that is really the point that I was trying to make. He has made it very clear that he wants to ignore federal law. There are, you're lucky in your states to have great communications, but there has been, and there have been testimony in this very committee of people who led local law enforcement agencies who have said, I mean, take, for example, the airport and JFK, where they were housing migrants, where there was zero communications between law enforcement agencies because they just didn't want to share the information. With that, my time's expired, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Gentlemen,